Clients don't pay for when the day goes perfect. They pay for you to remain calm and have the confidence to find a solution when everything goes wrong. I want to walk you guys through the system that I like to use at FilmLaab to be able to solve problems on set and hopefully anticipate them before they ever become a thing. Now, this is a topic that I'm very passionate about because I have been in probably every bad situation you can possibly be on set. I have been there when we've forgotten the SD card. I have seen camera lenses break. I have seen talent not show up or a location fall through last minute, or no matter what we're doing, we can't get the lighting right. Or maybe the talent can't perform their lines very well. There are dozens of different experiences that I have had, probably hundreds, that have helped inform me and teach me to figure out how can we create a system where hopefully we can avoid as many of these problems as possible beforehand and do that in the pre-production. But inevitably, things will happen when you're on set. That's just the nature of production. And so when you're on set and those things happen, can you pivot and anticipate those things? Yes, but pivot on set to be able to fix them and find a resolution quickly and efficiently and still accomplish what you need to at the end of the day. Let me set the scene for you guys. It is the morning of our big game or Super Bowl commercial level production. We are so excited, but so nervous. That morning, our gaffer calls in sick, so we're frantically trying to find a replacement. We had cut a scene previously because it just didn't work in our allotted amount of time. The client that morning, while on set, says, actually, we want to find a way to fit that scene back in. So we're trying to pull a replacement talent from extras. Basically, everything is on the line because we have one day to pull off this massive piece. The client flew across the country, and overall, we had only 3 weeks to write the script, produce this, shoot it, edit, and ultimately deliver before their deadline. So let's just say, yes, the stakes were high. But I want to walk you through how we were able to remain calm and utilize the system to be able to help us fix these problems on the fly. So let's walk through this kind of operating system that we got here at FilmLaab. It's the 3 A's. We got anticipate, absorb, and adapt. That's exactly what you got to do on set, and I'm going to walk through what each of those mean and share some examples and stories that will help illustrate that idea. Because at the end of the day, we want the client to be happy, we want to protect the crew, respect their time, and we ultimately want to ship out the edit and deliver it in a way that everybody's happy in the end. So let's talk about kind of anticipate that first concept. Now, I think the more time you put into pre-production, it really is just insurance for your mental health while you're on set and the mental health of everyone you work with. So the more time you can put into pre-production and asking yourself the obvious questions, the better off you're going to be. Now, one time I remember, it was actually recently, we were prepping to shoot for a golf bag company with one of my friends, Wedge Golf, for one of their clients' vessel. It was going to be a really run and gun shoot. We had to go to 4 different locations over 2 days. We were just sending 2 members of our team to do this. And as we sat down, we started kind of just talking through the logistics. And we had been so focused on thinking about, okay, where's the talent going to be? What's the locations? What's the shot list? What time of day are we going to be shooting? All that stuff. And then Danny, who was directing the piece, started coming in and just asking the obvious questions that we hadn't even got around to. He said, okay, we're shooting golf bags. Do we have clubs? Okay, no. Do we have golf balls? Everybody starts panicking. And those questions, if they hadn't been asked right then, the crew would have shown up and not had any golf clubs on set, not had any golf balls on set because they were so focused on the other aspects of pre-production that they didn't even think about the obvious. Like, okay, if we're shooting a golf bag company, maybe we should see if we actually have golf balls and golf clubs. But thank heavens, we took the time to have the pre-production meeting and have some of those questions asked. Another really great way to prepare is also by setting expectations for the client. Okay, client, what am I expecting from you the day of the set? What can you expect from us and everything leading up to it? We're going to show you the talent. We're going to walk through the wardrobe. We're going to go through the locations, do prop approvals, the whole 9 yards. Here's a shot list. Here's a storyboard. And what you're doing is you are making sure that there is alignment in vision. So you are doing a great job at articulating, here's what we're thinking is going to make a difference. Here's how we want to approach this creatively. And then if they have any feedback or changes that they want to make, you're hearing about it beforehand. The worst thing ever is when you just tell a client to trust you, you show up on set, they really don't have any prior knowledge of how you're approaching this, and then they're seeing you do it in person, they're seeing what's going on set, and they're like, oh, this isn't really what I pictured in my head, and then the discussions are trying to happen and the problems are trying to be solved on set. That is the last place you want to deal with that. You want to be 100% aligned on what the vision is, how you're trying to capture it, and what a successful day looks like way before you're actually there on set. And you're going to do that through making a proper shooting schedule, aligning on the talent, aligning on the locations, building out storyboards, and doing everything you can to make sure you and the client are going for and trying to create the same thing. And I should say that alignment is not only important for you and the client, but you and the entire crew. If you're the director or you're the DP, you are playing a very big leadership role on set. And you need to make sure that that vision is articulated to every single person in every single role so that they understand, how can I solve this problem? Because if they understand where you're headed, then they can, in their own unique roles, figure out how to, when confronted with an issue, know where their North Star is, and they can then figure out, how do I solve this problem and make this happen? A great example of this is recently we were on set. The client previously had said, oh, hey, yeah, just come, get a few photos, whatever. It's not really a super big priority, just kind of have them shoot over the video team's shoulder. Then when we got on set, the client then just kind of had amnesia and was like, you know what, photo is very hugely important for us. We want to make sure to review every single photo. We want to see everything live. Now, if you're not aware of what a tether is, it's where you're connecting a cable to your camera and shooting back, and what it does is it transfers it instantly to be displayed onto a laptop, onto a TV, whatever, so the client can see live photos popping up that are being captured and make sure they like the look, the feel, the focus, the focal length, all that good stuff. Now, we had not been prepped for that. We had been just told it was just a little side thing. Luckily, our team, because we had talked to them about how important it is, what their role is, our team was able to pivot and fix everything very, very quickly. We had our guy Branson, who was like, hey, I think we have a USB-C inside the production van. It's like 12 feet long. We had somebody else who had brought a laptop, and very quickly we were able to pull up Lightroom, get a USB-C cable, connect it. Somebody else had a stand that we could set that laptop on, and from there we were able to have a nice mobile tether for our client to be able to kind of be somewhat over our photographer's shoulder, but still feel like they had a proper setup to view the photos that were being captured. Now, if we didn't have that, would have been the end of the world? No. But because we were able to solve quickly the problems on set, they didn't ever feel like it was a problem at all. And they were able to have a really great experience and feel like they had their hands in the creativity and were able to improve the photos all along the way. And that seamless experience made for an awesome end result and really strengthen our relationship with that client. So on that note, think about what are the things that more often than not, if you don't remember to bring them, could actually break the shoot. You know, sometimes I've shown up and we have forgotten a single screw that meant we couldn't mount the Manfrotto plate, which meant we couldn't put it on a tripod, which meant we couldn't capture some of those shots. So think about what are the little things that you cannot forget, and how can you make sure to mitigate the risk of ever leaving it behind. Some of the essentials that we try to never leave onto a production without is gaff tape. That's always a big one. We always make sure to have backup memory cards, whether that's SD, CFast, Minimag, whatever it is. I like to always have some sort of tiny mobile audio setup, even if that's just DJI mics or Rode Go mics, whatever that is. I like to be able to have some way to capture audio because you never know when you're going to need it. I also like to make sure we have NDs because you want to be able to control light, especially when you're outside. So having NDs really helps you do that. And then lastly, I love bringing our Nanlite Pavo tubes around because every once in a while, you just need a little extra punch of light, and you can just hold it, Hollywood it over somebody's head, and it can make all the difference. I won't even go into all the ways that gaff tape or having an extra memory card or an extra little tube light has saved me, but I'm sure you can imagine why all of those things have been absolutely game changer when we're in a tight spot on set. All right, so the last thing about kind of the anticipation phase is make sure you have pre-production meetings. And this is particularly important with your crew. You as the director, the producer, the DP, want to just make sure you're all on the same page with the gear that you pack, with the flow and the schedule of the day, with the types of shots you are trying to create, because you would not believe how many problems we have solved in the last 24 hours. As we met up, we started talking about it, we realized something was missing, a client changed something, a talent fell through, but when we were able to all be on the same page and put our heads together, we were able to solve problems. Now let's go back to that big game day commercial type of scenario. Now luckily, even though our gaffer felt sick that morning and had to bail, he had friends and contacts. We also had other individuals that we could call. And so with just a couple of calls that morning at like 7 a.m., we were able to find somebody who was able to be on set by 8:30 a.m. and we were able to have that covered. And honestly, we made a really great relationship with them and still work with them to this day. And as you probably remember, we cut a scene because we didn't feel like we had time to pull it off that day, and the client requested to put it back in. What that meant was me and the first assistant director had to sit down and look at our schedule for the day and say, okay, we have X number of hours to shoot these 5 scenes. Now we need to adjust the schedule to fit in our 6th scene. And also, where are we going to find the talent? So we talked to our producer. She was able to have a friend who was planning on being an extra on set but had some acting experience, and he was willing to step in. And with some pivots and some real quick creative thinking, we were able to figure out how do we pull off this scene within this location. And honestly, it came together beautifully. And when we were able to go showcase to the client how we were going to solve that problem, the way we were going to approach it, when we were going to shoot it, and how it would impact the rest of our day and still go very smoothly, all that did was brought them a lot of confidence that yes, we will make a great product no matter what, but when things go wrong, we're going to stay calm and we're going to figure out a way to make it right and to still pull this thing off. And we did just that. All right, principle number 2 is absorb. Now, I look at this in 2 ways. One, when a problem happens on set, which it will. Like, no matter how much you plan, how much you try to anticipate everything beforehand, things are going to come up that are outside of your control. Now, the only thing you can control is how you're going to react to it. And that's something taught by Viktor Frankl, by the way. So when a client gets frustrated on set, or when a talent is running late, or a lens gets broken on set, how are you going to react? I found that it's really important to take just a moment to absorb what's happening. Observe what's happening and take a second to just really sit in it so you understand the consequences of it and you're not just doing a quick knee-jerk reaction, because a lot of times that's where panic can be expressed. That's where concern can start happening, and the anxiety, if as a leader, if you are putting out chaos or concern or anxiety, then the whole team is going to be on edge. The client is not going to feel like this is going well, and therefore it's going to lead to a bad experience. Even if in the end you are able to solve the problem, you are souring the experience overall just a bit. So take a moment to pause, to absorb, say, hey, give me a few minutes. Let me think about how we're going to best solve this problem. There's nothing wrong with that answer. And then 2, for me, I believe your job in absorbing is also to absorb the stress from the room. You are meant to project confidence. You are there to bring solutions. While other people might be bringing the problems or sharing what's going on, it is your job to pause, absorb the situation, and then hopefully, if you can, take away the stress from that individual and help them come up with a real solution to the problem. Because more often than not, it's not life or death. You're able to figure out what the problem is and solve it. I had an experience one time where we were working with a food company, and the founder of the brand had approved the talent. He had approved the location. When we get on set, though, he started going on and on about how this wasn't the right vision, and he didn't like the actor. And he was saying this in front of the actor, by the way, very loudly, saying that the actor couldn't perform his lines very well. And overall, it just started creating a ton of negativity. And then he'd say, okay, try the line again, try the line again. And it made the actor feel so much pressure that he was stuttering over his lines. He couldn't get him. He was forgetting him. He was really, really stressed. And that then made the client more and more angry. Now, at that moment, I realized, okay, I was absorbing the situation. I'm like, this is not going well. This is not a recipe for success. So I asked the crew to pause for a minute. I said, hey, let's take a quick 5-minute break. And then I asked the client to step outside with me. And it was my responsibility as the director to, one, protect the crew, to protect the talent, but then also realign on what the vision and the expectation is with the client, because we had gone through that process of defining what success looked like in all the pre-production. So I stepped outside with him and I said, tell me what's going on. He just said, I don't like the delivery. I don't think he really matches this location very well. And he was just red-faced angry. And I just said, all right now, the talent needs confidence from us. If you need to stay outside for a minute, I'm going to go back in there and give it to him. And I know if he has that, he will nail his line. The client then took a second, did a little reflection, and realized that his frustration, the things he was saying, was actually adding to the talent's anxiety and was not making the shoot go well. So he took a moment outside. We went in. The guy nailed it within the second try, and I was able to invite the client back in, and all was well. I did that to protect our crew, to protect the talent, and also to realign on the vision and reset expectations with our client. Your job as a director, as a leader on set, is to help make realistic expectations for everybody. You are not there to create more pressure, to induce stress, to go and lead top down. You are there to empower people in their individual roles and responsibilities. And ultimately, I believe you are there to give clarity and direction, not chaos, anxiety, or a feeling of failure. Talking about this actually reminds me of another situation that happened last year. We were with Kizik in LA. Now, Kizik is one of our favorite clients to work with. We had done a ton of different projects for them, and this was more of an ambitious project. We decided to go out to LA to pull off 2 different campaigns at the same time. We had 4 shooting days, and we'd shoot some scenes for one in the morning, some for another in the evening, and it was a very chaotic schedule. Now, we showed up, and the morning shoot had gone great, the afternoon was awesome, and we get to the evening shoot. Now, what we had forgotten to anticipate was daylight savings time. We just had totally spaced that this would happen. The day before, the hour shifted back, and so the sun actually was setting a little over an hour earlier than we had originally anticipated, which caused us a ton of problems. Now, this scene was a very important scene because it was the intro shot for one of the large campaigns we were trying to pull off for them, and if it wasn't lit well, then it really wasn't going to be a strong hook. So we were stressed, and honestly, that was one of the only times I've truly let my stress show on set with a client. And I said some things frustrated under my breath. They heard that. I was frustrated that our producer hadn't thought through it. I was frustrated that our talent had shown up late, that all these things were happening. We didn't have the proper lights to be able to light everything, and stands to get high enough to light everything and make it feel like warm morning light. And the sun went down, and we were just toast. So what I had to do was calm down, take a second to absorb the situation, and walk outside and talk to the client and say, to be honest, we ran out of time to pull this off. Now, I'm going to figure out how we can fit in the schedule tomorrow or the following day to be able to pull off shooting this scene. I'm sorry for the panic that I showed. Me and the crew are working on the plan. We'll call you a little bit later tonight when we have everything solidified and the plan moving forward to be able to capture this shot as well as stay on schedule for the rest of the production. Now, if I could go back in time, I wouldn't have stressed out in front of the client. I wouldn't have expressed my frustration at the situation. But that was a good lesson for me to remember that I am there to absorb the stress. I am there. I need to take a moment to understand what is happening before I give a knee-jerk reaction or let my emotions show. And if I had done that, I would have saved them a lot of gray hairs and a lot of anxiety. In the end, we were able to figure out a solution. We decided to split our team into 2 different units. One unit continued on the schedule that we had planned for the next day, while the second unit went and made sure to light and shoot that same scene that we had planned on from the very beginning, just doing it the next day during the proper time of day. And honestly, that solution, even though it was stressful and it stretched our team a little bit more, We didn't have all the hands we wanted on each of the sets. We were able to still pull it off, and the whole thing looked amazing. And again, if I just taken a moment to absorb and think through that a little bit beforehand, before reacting, I probably would have been able to come up with that solution and express that confidence on set. So I would have saved my team a lot of anxiety, our client a lot of anxiety, and also I probably would have looked a lot better. Now, principle number 3, I've kind of already talked about it in all the stories that I've shared, but that is adapt. You try to anticipate problems, you absorb when they happen, and then you take action and you adapt. I've already kind of shared this in examples where I asked a client to step outside, or we pulled in an extra and had him be a main talent, or called in a friend when something went wrong to help gaff. Whatever the whole case may be, if you are not able to adjust or adapt on set, then you're probably not going to win. And one of the things that I think is wrong with this industry is I cannot and do not respect directors who are not willing to grab a C-stand or to carry a sandbag or hold a boom pole. If you are the kind of person who says that is not my job, or that is not my role, then honestly, you're not somebody I want on my set. Now, I do think there is a time and place for everybody to stay in their lane, to have their proper roles and responsibilities, yes. But, and I get that there's a proper way of doing things. But when there is a problem and something needs to be solved, all creative ideas are welcome. You need to be somebody who's willing to step maybe outside of your traditional role, to think outside of the box and try to help bring solutions. And sometimes that just means instead of doing a proper overhead rig, you're going to do some 1/4-inch screws with a C-stand and you're going to try to make it work, even though it's not the proper way. So don't let your ego or don't let you being self-conscious about something get in the way of actually solving the problem. I cannot tell you how often I have seen that happen on a set. Now, to kind of just wrap up this whole thing, solving problems on set is literally the name of the game when you're in production. And being able to be calm is not just a personality trait. It is a system that you build. I'm going to repeat that again. Being able to stay calm on set is not just you having a great personality or you being chill. It's because you have a system and potential solutions in place. So the more time you can spend on pre-production, the more time you can just take to yourself to absorb what the situations that's happening, and then you being able to just adapt on the fly is going to make all the difference. But again, so much of that happens in pre-production, and so much of this does take personal, mental, and emotional work for you to be able to handle those stressful situations on set. The greatest hack, though, that I can tell you with helping a set go smoothly when everything's going wrong is to make sure that the team around you knows that you care about them and knows what their role and responsibility is. And ultimately, make sure the team cares. Make sure they care about the outcome of the project. And if you have a team that holds those 3 traits, then no matter what happens on set, you're going to figure it out and it's going to be okay. Because at the end of the day, you can't do everything yourself. And production is meant to be a team sport. Creativity is meant to be a collaboration. So don't try to do it all yourself. But if you are somebody who is in a position of leadership in the creative world, then please take time to anticipate potential problems, absorb when they happen and absorb the stress from your team, and then adapt as quickly and efficiently as possible. Practice that and you will be shocked at how far that simple system can take you. That's kind of what I try to do here at FilmLaab. That is what our team does, and that is why we enjoy what we do so much. Because again, yes, problems come up, and we have learned that. And we've learned to be able to, that you can still smile through the problems, that you can still have an enjoyable, fun experience when those things come up. Because if you have the confidence that the problem will be solved, then it's no biggie and it's not worth sweating about. So that's me just rambling a little bit. I hope you guys enjoyed that. It was fun to kind of think through some of the terrible situations I've been in. I haven't even mentioned even a fraction of the problems that have happened on set and the ways we've had to solve them. But I can tell you, being able to think quick on your feet and keep your cool is such an invaluable character trait. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. I know I really enjoyed talking about it, and it's something now with those refreshers I'm going to continue to take on every set that I work on. I would love to hear you guys' experiences for times things have gone wrong on set and how you brought a solution or how you're able to solve the problem or adapt on the fly. I think those are some of the funniest, craziest stories ever, and they are so relatable. Anyway, I really appreciate this community. I appreciate you guys and look forward to seeing you or chatting in the next.